Good evening, everyone. We've got something. There we go. Books are the memory which does not die, inscribed in 5 languages over the gate of Hush House. Go quietly. Book of Hours is not a punishing game unless you want it to be. Special guest preview. This is your backstage pass to Hush House. A warm welcome to you, librarian. Take a breath and come on in. Now, I have a little bit of trouble on my screen right now, so if you can just give me a second here, I'm going to close out a couple things. And we're going to enjoy this lovely music. Oh, I think I made a big mistake. RFSMGG00. You got the stream key. Congrats. Thank you. So I feel safe enough to say this now, but there was actually a little bit of a problem with my old version. So when I was doing the I'm really sorry I messed this up, by the way. I closed something I'm not supposed to, and I want to make sure that I don't lose a lot of really important information. So there's a recovery mode that I can use, but it is going to take me a minute to build it up. But yeah, so there was I think there was a glitch in the way that the beta keys worked. And so when I was doing that Outlast, run, basically I kind of sent off a message saying, hey, it looks like I actually have access to the full game. Like, there was a release candidate that was pushed to Steam, and for one reason or another, it seemed like I had access to that. Now, there's a number of reasons why that could have happened, not all of which are tied to the beta. But, in the back of my head, it's sort of like, yeah, of course I really want to play. Like, who doesn't really want to play the game ahead of time? But, like, I had this, I was given this really nice opportunity to play and share this game ahead of time as part of the beta. I definitely wanted to do my best as a tester, but I also kind of recognize that I'm not as good of a tester as other people are. And again, it's not like it's a competition, so that's not the end of the world. But like, where possible, oh dear. Okay, I think I lost some stuff in the background here, but we're okay. But yeah, so the thing is that there seemed to be a little bit of a problem just in terms of the way that the beta key kind of wound up working. This is interesting. It goes left but not right. Oh, there it goes, sort of. But yeah, so I sent off just a quick message. It's like, hey, am I supposed to be able to run this thing? But what I forgot about Steam was that when you get a key revoked, so like the way we knew this was happening, like Weather Factory absolutely did what they said they were going to do. So like this is absolutely not on them. But when you have a key that's revoked on Steam, it gives you a prompt. Like, they want you to acknowledge, and they want you to acknowledge right away. So that will actually give a pop-up, and it will tab out whatever you're doing. And the drawback with Whistleblower is that there is a bug in that, where if you tab out of the game, it will, like, you can't get back in. And if you're doing a nightmare run, there's no way to. It's not a permanent save. It is a one and done affair. So if you I don't know, have to sleep, well, you better hope that you have enough time to finish your whistleblower run, because there's no possible way. I mean, I guess maybe you could like hide in a closet or something like that. But yeah, so as it happens, nobody intended this to happen, but as it happens in the middle of whistleblower, the pop-up comes up, and that was what that was, I guess, about a week ago. So that was just kind of a funny little follow-up on it. But the reason I didn't want to talk about it at the time was that in the beta, I actually did find a way to circumvent the protections that they sort of put on the, like there would be these 2-week phases, 1 week for Nocturnal. There was actually a way to get around that. I'm not going to say what it is, because I'm assuming that will probably work for other Steam games where people want to do that. And sorry, I got a message. I just wanted to double check. But yeah, so like it's just one of these things where it's like, I'm always interested in terms of how this stuff works. So you'll tinker around, right? It's a little bit like learning how a computer works. Like, if you learn SQL injection, it's not necessarily that you want to go in and mess with people's databases, but you learn a little bit about the underlying technology. So in this case here, it's something which I can say quite confidently I did not abuse the access to, but I don't know. Like I have a few ideas in terms of how that might have been twisted to sort of give extended access to Book of Hours. So with that in mind, I sort of figured that there was enough time between sort of now and like confirming that the problem was identified and corrected. There's a number of things. Essentially, anybody who wants to do something underhanded has either already figured out the workaround, so there's no point in me keeping it a secret, or they've decided that it's too costly to use the method. So anyways, there's the other shoe dropping. Weather Factory has very kindly given me a copy of Book of Hours, and that is what we're going to be playing today. Obviously, when I said an anticipated RPG starting with the letter B that has at least one furry companion, I don't know what else you all thought that I was going to be playing. But there are a few details that I just want to bring up, because again, I have been given a key for promotional purposes. I am delighted that I get a chance to show all of this early, and I do apologize to the YouTube crowd who wants to. I'm sure they don't really care about the Outlast stuff, but I did want to give people a chance to come in and see my first run, because this is the full game. It's not the final version of the game, because Weather Factory, if you have followed Cultist Simulator, you know that Weather Factory puts a lot of work into their games. There have been multiple updates. In fact, I got a very nice email today pointing out a bug that was fixed. So hopefully a few will come in. I actually had a number of really nice emails today, which is good, because I really needed to pick me up. But I did want to bring up a few details just for everyone to know what's going on. So Book of Hours will be releasing on August the 17th, 2023. So I'll just say I'm kind of reading a little bit like ad copy right now, but this is purely voluntary. I've disclosed the fact that I was given a key for promotional purposes. That's the only obligation that I have. But in this case here, I do want to let you know about a few details about this wonderful game. Because it's, I guess the thing to point out is you'll see this little Perpetual Edition logo in the bottom left-hand corner here. There are sort of fewer opportunities to get this than for Cultist Simulator. So for those of you who are not familiar with Cultist Simulator, who maybe came after the game was released, if you were a Kickstarter backer, you got what was known as the Perpetual Edition of Cultist Simulator, which meant that basically all of the... I need to remember exactly the phrasing that they have, because I think... I'm trying to remember... I don't think DLC is the right term for... I believe it would be appropriate to say all of the future expansions are free forever. But in any case, if you were a Kickstarter backer, if you bought the game in the first week, you got access to the Perpetual Edition, which meant that all of the expansions to the game were available. You got them for free on release when they came out. It's a wonderful way to sort of support the game when it first comes out, which is a time when it's really important on storefronts. That's usually the time when Steam sort of figures out where the game fits in the overall algorithm and draws attention to the potential audience. So essentially what you are doing, if you are interested in Book of Hours, it is time to start saving your pennies now. I do have the price for the game, incidentally, so it'll be $19.99 British pounds or $24.99 US dollars. I actually think I was a little surprised to see it so inexpensive, because if you kind of take a look at indie games now, they're around the $35-$40 range. So I think I'm honestly 25 US for especially after inflation, right? 25 US for a game this big. I kind of feel like they're selling themselves short. But the thing is that I also am a huge fan of these types of games. And so I suspect this is also a price that will let people who are maybe more on the fence say, you know what, I'm willing to try this out. At, $30 does sort of seem to be a bit of a threshold for people. So just a reminder here, if you are buying it at that price, I don't know if there's like a opening week discount, because I know like normally, some games will do a 10% discount just to entice people even further. But the base price that I'm seeing here is $19.99 British pounds, $24.99 US, or whatever your regional equivalent is. Remember that Steam has a way of automatically adjusting that, so it's not the easiest thing to predict. And again, the thing I really wanted to stress here is that if you buy this game in the first week, you are getting all of the expansions, and they've not announced what the expansions are, but they have been very clear that there will be expansions even if the game is not a big success. There won't be as many as, let's say Cultist Simulator, I'm going to assume, if the game is not successful. But a really good example here was, I don't know if Exile was ever really planned. Exile was an absolutely massive expansion, so anybody who was like a Kickstarter backer or who got Cultist Simulator in the first week got a fantastic deal, in my opinion. Because again, the DLC were all wonderful, but I mean, effectively Exile was like Cultist Simulator 1.5. So from my own experience, as a broad, the thing that I feel bad about for Book of Hours is this is actually the first time I've not bought a Weather Factory game. Maybe I'll like get a GOG copy or something like that to support them. But this is a wonderful opportunity. If you are interested in this game, just remember within the first week you'll be able to get a particularly good deal, in my opinion. And the last thing I just wanted to say, I think this was originally for the streamers, but I wanted to just note a paragraph at the end of this, which is, Weather Factory is just my husband and me, so thank you for playing a game made by such a tiny team. If you see any bugs or questions playing, okay, well, that says email us. We put our heart and souls into this weird, deep library game. I can't wait to see what you think of this. And obviously, we have been enjoying the beta for a long time. I have been really looking forward to Book of Hours. I remember first being able to do that demo, and that was a really special moment for me. Even just this music like this, it's already sort of put in some memories and some very, very fond thoughts. But I am delighted to be able to share this game with all of you at the start. And we're going to be spending quite a bit of time with Book of Hours. I'm really looking forward to covering this and sharing this. I actually got a very special, like I got a fresh notebook for Book of Hours, so I'm not going to try and take too much time in terms of building up, in terms of taking notes and things like that. But please just keep in mind, I want to share off the game, but this is my chance to play something that I have been looking forward to for a really long time, by people who I have a lot of respect and admiration for. So create an alt just to support them. Anyways, my watch is set and your grail is filled with desire for this game. Who could ask for more? There is one other thing I wanted to say before we jumped in there's actually a couple things I wanted to say, but one of them is Book of Hours related. one thing that was very funny was we had a big storm here. I guess it was yesterday or the day before, I can't remember. But the rain was hitting really hard against the against the window, and I had this really distinct feeling, especially because of what they added in the last note. Is like, I really could use Book of Hours right now. Like, it's a game that even after the beta, and admittedly, it was a beta close to release, so it's a pretty comprehensive version, but it was one that it's already kind of, I've already got sort of a mood for it, which I'm looking forward to. And this will only mean something to a few people, but in the mail, a copy of Tom Stoppard's Arcadia arrived. So I'd ordered one a couple months ago, and the bookseller either went out of business or they just like taking money and not shipping out books. But anyways, I got a refund from the site, so I was happy enough about that. But I mean, it's been so long since I read this, I don't remember it that well at all. But I just kind of glanced at the opening again, and I was like, oh man, it's really appropriate that I got this on the day that I'm covering Book of Hours. So in any case, let's give credit where credit is due, and we will we'll jump in for our first run of the full version of Book of Hours. So authors, Weather Factory is design, writing, and coding, Alexis Kennedy. Art, production, and marketing, Lottie Bevan. I love how all of these are being associated. Oh, cool. So this is interesting. I found my first bug about the scrolling. Okay. Anyways, I'll work that out. Design, writing, and coding, Alexis Kennedy. Art, production, marketing, Lottie Bevan. And we salute our collaborators. Additional coding, Roman Laskutov, Knights of Unity, FRGM. Additional art by Adrian Degan, Clockwork Cuckoo, Catherine Unger. The lovely music that you're listening here, Mary Beth Solomon, Mickey Marr Productions. Sound effects by Sound Cuts. And then we have a number of people. Steam page localization. I apologize. I will not. I'll not. I don't want to disrespect the people. I definitely don't want to disrespect the people who put a lot of effort into the Steam page localization and the special thanks. I will, of course, note there's a few names that always put a smile on my face. I do know who PK and Sonia are. Sulachana and Chi, it's always nice to see. But I do need to know the story about Fingal's Coffee on Trafalgar Road. But of course, to the beta testers, obviously we have a much better game as a result of their efforts, and it certainly wasn't me to be the one. All right, I wasn't expecting this, but let's keep it with the default. Does anybody have any questions before we go in, or are we ready to go? Welcome to Hush House. This is a special guest preview edition of Book of Hours. It's as close to the launch build as we can make it. If you run into problems, mail us at support@weatherfactory.biz. Please send us your autosave.json and player.log from your save directory. Ask over email if you can't find that. I suspect... Yeah, let's... Actually, you know what? I know I'm teasing all of you with this, but I'm not going to mess around in the background with how this works, but... Well, let's see if it still works. I'm not, like... I'm not a purist, right? Like I guess the thing for me is that, like, if the game lets you do it, then, like, I don't know if there's anything to prove. It's convenient, but the thing is that the way that they changed that they changed the game is that if that trick is not nearly as effective as it used to be. It is actually much better to keep track of what memories come out of certain books. I think I'm going to try it to see whether or not it remains. But overall, I don't actually see... I don't see a whole lot of value in continuing to work with that. So on the odd chance I need to refer to old files, I'm just going to delete all of these. I'm sorry, I should have been a little bit better prepared, but I wasn't 100% sure. I actually really like the way that they fixed this. Or not fixed it, but I like the way that this works. All right, here we go. I've clicked to interact with objects and rooms. Right-click or use the cursor keys. Bran Krug, March 7th, 1936. There's been no librarian at Hush House since the fire, 7 years now. Suitable candidates are very difficult to find, but perhaps we have found one in you. Take care on your journey. The seas around Bran Krug are treacherous. So I'm not going to talk about every time that I'm making a note here, but the first thing that I want to write down, we've talked about the start date of March the 7th, 1936. I want to just try and take the odd note every once in a while. So for those of you who may be joining us with Book of Hours at the beginning, this is this wonderful start. I particularly love this this particular bit of music, and I'm happy that the thunder was sort of dealt with, because this game definitely has a lot going on in terms of sort of memory and healing and solitude. For me, and again, music is such a big thing. I think I've noticed one thing I like a lot, and I don't know if this is partly what's happened in terms of Weather Factory and the different products that they've been making, because remember that the Secret Histories world is more than just Cultist Simulator or even Book of Hours. There is the tabletop experience, and when you get the deluxe edition of the tabletop, you have maps, and you have candles, scented candles that you light, and while you play the game. It is basically an individual one-off experience, which is rare. It's a lot of, if you think of it, it's almost the opposite of what people seem to be the way, seem to sort of promote as the way to make money in games now, right? Which is, you need to make these experience machines that people are just constantly, playing over and over and over again, like a RimWorld. And yet, when you look at something like The Lady Afterwards, I don't know how replayable it is, but it seems to me that the value of The Lady Afterwards really... I guess it's Lady After... Sorry, I can't... Let me just double check I've got the name right. Yeah, Lady Afterwards. I still don't have it, actually. It's not that big of a discount on this mysterious package company. I might give it a shot. But the reason I point this out is take a look at some of the things that are in Hush House that you can do, right? You touch the velvet of the chairs, and you smell and you taste. The Secret Histories have expanded to a real-life experience now, not just one that you set up at a table, while playing The Lady Afterwards, but Tricuspid Limited is running the Locksmith's Dream, which incidentally, if you want the pre-order, like where you can pay in installments, that's it's less than 2 weeks to be able to do that. They are going to be closing down the Locksmith's Dream for a bit. I don't know if it'll be coming back, but they are moving on to the Key of Dreams, which I've been given a little bit of information on. But now is the time. If you were thinking about attending that, now's the time to sort of book your time off and get your ticket, because that is a limited experience, and it's one that's going to be going into memories. But that one has this giant, like not giant, but it's got this big sort of cornerstone dinner. And again, this maybe doesn't have scent as much of a part of it, but this idea of being able to engage all of the senses, that's come into Book of Hours as well. And again, I do need to distinguish, the Locksmith's Dream is a Tricuspid Limited, whereas Lady Afterwards, Cultist Simulator, and Book of Hours are Weather Factory. But they all take place in the same world. So the reason why I wanted to say that is, again, memory is a big part of this game. And I think one of the things for me for this game is that I am probably never going to forget that experience of first opening this game after following along for so long. And, opening it up, hearing this piece of music in the first time. It's the reason why I sort of say, in the middle of a thunderstorm, oh man, I could really use Book of Hours right now. It just happens to be a special moment in gaming. It's something that probably wouldn't really make sense to anyone who, isn't me. And yet, these sorts of things kind of wind up just working their way in terms of your neural pathways, and there's always going to be those moments that come up. So whenever I hear that piece of music, I remember exactly what it felt like to sit down and finally play the Book of Hours after so long, and it's a very fond memory, and it's already an absolutely fantastic soundtrack. It is definitely one that I'm going to pick up. But with that in mind, that some of this is unique to me. Oop. Left click to interact with... okay, interesting. So I can't actually now... Oh! Left click to interact with objects and rooms, right click and cursor... here we go. That makes a lot of sense. That stops me from clicking and dragging items that I shouldn't. The reason why I kind of wanted to talk about this is that when you think of role-playing games, it's hard to talk about role-playing games now and not talk about the bear in the room, Baldur's Gate. There is, to a certain extent, I feel like a lot of computer RPGs are sometimes trying to capture that experience of sitting around a tabletop and playing, Dungeons and Dragons or Traveller or like any of those other old people games. But it's obviously not the only type of role-playing game. In the case of Cultist Simulator, love it or hate it, that is definitely a game which is one where you take the perspective of someone who's been given a glimpse into a deeper and more mysterious world and trying to unpack what that means and learn more, right? My kind of shorthand for explaining why the game is interesting to people is to say that, just like there is no deep dark mysteries for dummies for you to go and sign out of the library to understand everything about the game. Really, there isn't that isn't there in terms of Cultist Simulator either. You live the experience of your character as they are trying to figure out these mysteries. And likewise, what is it about Book of Hours? I mean, the answering the question of what is Book of Hours is basically going to be the subject for many hours of gameplay for the next few streams. But in the end, this is definitely the kind of game where you go into an ancient library, sometimes with only the sound of the rain against the window pane to keep you company, and even from these opening moments, you've got that hint of it, and it's I don't know. That's why I can spend the time here on the opening. It already brings back a bunch of memories, and it's already something that sort of establishes a mood for me. But we do need to play the game, so the cold comes first. Thunder growling, waves pounding, and finally me, sprawled on the sodden sand of the beach. There's something in my hand. So, we have health half drowned. Shivers rack my soaked body. Your health is failing. Find somewhere to warm up. If you can just give me a second here, I think there might be something a little weird going on with my resolution. So I'm going to knock it down to... I think that should sharpen things up for people. The cold comes first. Thunder growling, waves pounding, and finally me sprawled on the sodden sand of the beach. There is something in my hand. So, we have our half-drowned health. Shivers rack my soaked body. Your health is failing. Find somewhere to warm up. Now, every card in the game, it'll represent something. It has different aspects, and the way that you can find out about... the way you can find out more about a card is to look at its aspects. That can be a great way to find your way around a game like this. So for those of you who have played Cultist Simulator, this is old hat, but you know, for the people who may have been waiting to see the full game, I feel like I owe it to them to at least explain what's going on. So, first of all, health has the principle of heart. The heart relentless beats to protect the skin of the world we understand. The heart is the principle that continues and preserves. We have winter, which does not have. Winter is not very talkative. Winter is the principle of silence, of endings, and of those things that are not quite dead. This, of course, would make sense because I am half drowned. This is an element of the soul. The human soul is composed of 9 elements, and this is one. Most other things have simpler souls. Each soul card can be used once a day for the kinds of things you do with your soul. That usually means talking to people or crafting. Malady. Something has snared or sickened my soul. Soul cards can be malady-tainted when you're exposed to dangerous influences, sometimes when you fail in a task. Maladies cannot be exhausted, but your soul is altered and weakened, and there can be serious consequences if they go untreated. And finally, soaked. In peril of dissolution, intervene quickly, but not hastily. We have a memory of the storm. There are storms great enough to shake the moon from the sky and one's thoughts from one's skull. So again, this is a memory of a storm. It has the aspect memory. Something remembered might be something understood. Memories can be used to help with crafting and to upgrade skills. Memories disappear each dawn, except persistent ones. Now the storm has the same aspect as my health, heart. But it also has the aspect of sky. Now, for those of you who may know a thing or two about Cultist Simulator, you will know that there are new aspects that have been introduced in Book of Hours. This may have something to do with a change that's happened in the world. There are certainly a number of different changes. I haven't been able to account for why there are new aspects, but that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that there aren't solutions or answers to that in the game. It just means I'm too thick to see them. But wind, storm, echo, song, the intricacies of mathematics and the principles of flight. Law's touch is lighter than we sometimes think. Matters of balance, harmony, and necessity. I've actually, in terms of the new aspects, I'm definitely feeling quite inclined towards sky. I know the mathematics is one thing. I've been actually, I think I even did some insane rant about the Pythagoreans during the stream at one point. But I don't know if it's because I've been reading a lot about the Pythagoreans or just, it's my temperament, but I don't know. There's something nice about the aspect that, if you can combine windstorm, echo, song, the intricacies of mathematics, and the principles of flight, who could really argue with that? In any case, those are the aspects of the memory storm, and note that there are its intensity too. So there are different intensities in terms of the aspects. Sky is cool, but you think you're a moon guy all the way. I like the quiet aspects. I feel like I am obligated as a broadcaster, at least a broadcaster without a camera, to not like the quiet aspects. So I'm gonna say that you are a moon winter, milady or monsieur, until told otherwise. And finally, we have a drowned book, the one possession I kept from the shipwreck. It must be important to me. It is a thing. The gentleman makes things his servants. The petty man is a servant to things. Master Zun. Readable. There are worse things to put in your eyes than this. Journal. I began before this book, but it'll end when I do. And finally, soaked. In peril of dissolution, intervene quickly, but not hastily. So, both the book and myself are drowned. So, what are we doing in St. Brendan's Cove? Okay. Here the sea ends and the world begins, or the other way around. After storms, the fishermen of Bran Krug village find oddities washed up here. And this is out of bounds. This place lies beyond the bounds of the house. A silver witness who is silent and unable to be pronounced. Okay, so when it comes down to it, there's really only so many things that we can click on, right? We've got these locks. We've got the tidal flats. Bran Krug is a tidal island. At low tide, you could walk there, though you probably shouldn't. These sands can be treacherous. Ask a guide the way. So this requires assistance. It says here, essential. Only something with all these aspects can go here. And required, if something has at least one of these aspects, it can go here. So this would require 2 moon. Secrets are soft. Night is softer still. The sea speaks. It is not always lies to listen. The nocturnal, the forgotten. And winter. Winter is the principle of silence, endings, and of those things that are not quite dead. Now, the fact of the matter is that if we have been in a shipwreck and have just washed up on shore, it's probably not wise to just go wandering around the beach. We probably want to head towards the lights. So we have Bran Krug Village. Bran Krug Village, sanctuary in the storm. I'll need help to climb the cliffs in the dark, and the locals are suspicious of outsiders, more than ever so since the Restoration and the new king. Guidance. One last time, depend on the kindness of strangers. So this also requires assistance. The librarian lives alone, but there's no shame in seeking assistance from others. Assistance can open new rooms or help with your studies. It disappears when used or at dawn. It requires sky, which we've already talked about, and it cannot have the aspect of skeptical. So this is forbidden. If something has this aspect, it can't go here. Trust can be bought or earned. So, what do we do? Well, we don't have anything that fits this description in terms of guidance. Incidentally, you'll notice that I left-clicked on the empty, like the slot. That's how I find out what can be accepted. This is what I mean when I say that you want to take a look at the aspects to see what's going on. So right now, we don't have anything we can do with these 2 locks. Now, we could maybe click on the Tree of Wisdoms, but I'll just let you know offhand that that's not going to do anything right now. So the last of the options we have is to take a look at this eye. Remember, what do I have left to work with? Salvage. Anything that matches the aspects below can go in this slot. So an element of the soul, a memory, or soaked. So if I put my health, alive approximately. I'm soaked, I'm freezing, but as far as I can tell, I'm still alive. You have some health, don't lose it. Need it if you want to be alive. What else do you have? Well, again, it says that I can put a memory or drown in it. Scattered memories. I can't get my thoughts straight. Perhaps there is something in the book. I remember. Perhaps the book can help me put the pieces together. So notice here that we've got another element that we can put in. What's left? The storm didn't take everything. Well, again, we could try our health. Freezing fingers. The book's in bad shape, and I'm not much better. We're both in need of a warm, dry, safe place, and soon. But we do also have the potential for memory. There was a storm. It smashed the ship like an egg, but I seized this book as the sea seized me, and then the sea brought me here, to Bran Krug. I actually really like the new right-click, left-click interface. And Bran Krug is where I wanted to be, but it's hard to remember why. What else did I lose in the storm? So, this is one thing that I really like about the way Book of Hours works. So, you don't get to name your character like in Cultist Simulator, but there is basically a personality test at the beginning of the game. So remember, what do I have left to work with? So we've got Fet, that part of us which dreams, which is an element of the soul. Core, exuberance, instinct, rhythm, and Shaft, eloquence and understanding. The door opens both ways. So, in this case here, you get to pick an element of the soul to keep. So in this case, if we put in Shaft, what remains of me? Words. The human soul has 9 parts. Eloquence and understanding rise from that part of the soul we call Shaft. Is my Shaft strong? Recover this, the other 2 will be lost to the sea for now. Now, I'm not going to suggest that this is the best way of playing the game. I'm just going to say this is the best way to play the game. No, this is my first time playing the full version of Book of Hours, so I am going to play the background that I'm most interested in. This is the coast where Bran Krug Isle lies. My sources briefed me thoroughly about the place, and I know there's no way that I can cross the isle in these seas. I'll need to find shelter for the night. So here's the shaft. We get to make the same decision again, but with different elements of the soul. We get to see all of them. So we have metal, the capacity for meaningful choice. Whist, name, memory, that part which remains. Most librarians know that books have souls. Most librarians hope for books with simple souls of whist and nothing else. Faust, sight, perception, inspiration, all the glory's gifts. And Arab, pride, compassion, hatred, and fear. So for this, we will... sorry, I need to add the book. We're going to add Faust. What remains of me? Light. Faust is the light within. Sight, perception, inspiration. Choose a strong Faust and a past with a pursuer who can see the light within you. The waves will wash away the others for now. Now, what I think I will do here, I just want to highlight a little bit in terms of like how big this game is. So there are multiple openings for this game. I'm going to go for Faust, but I do just want to give you an idea of what the backgrounds are like. Remember, there were 3 that I could pick from at the start. Then we've got what remains of me character. Choose a strong metal and a past where you made mistakes. The waves will wash away the others for now. Whist. Choose a strong whist and a past where you sought voices that had fallen silent. The waves will wash away the others for now. And Arab. Choose a strong Arab and a past where your passions were paramount. The waves will wash away the others for now. Perhaps here I'll find safety from what follows me, but what is that exactly? First things first, I remember there's someone in the village who will give me sanctuary if I can get there. Mysteries have been added to your journal. You can begin to investigate them when you and your journal are both dry. And we have an old friend's address. I first heard of Bran Krug through its rector, Reverend Timothy. For years now, I've been exchanging letters with him. I can find shelter for tonight under his roof once I've reached Bran Krug village. The rector can also introduce you to other villagers. Now notice we have another verb now. So there's consider, but we've got shelter. Bran Krug village must be nearby, but it's hard going, dragging my soaked body across the soaked sand in the teeth of this wind. Which way? We have a memory, fear. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. So the memory of fear has one edge aspect. All conquest occurs at the edge. One who dwells there is blind and cannot be wounded. Another is strong and grows stronger. Edge is the principle of battle and of struggle. By the way, did you say you like the Lionsmith? But I would have thought that if you're a Winter Moon guy, that the Colonel would be more appealing. I shouldn't have a preference between the Colonel and the Lionsmith, because it is, of course, the dyad that matters, but I'm still fond of the Colonel. We've got scale. Hard without, hard within, hard to rouse, harder to subdue. What is left of the crude powers of the deep earth. Alright, so, again, we've got the same problem that we had before. We need to find assistance with the sky, and we haven't gotten anything along those lines yet. So, what we can try here is help. Bran Krug village and shelter lies nearby, if I can only muster my remaining strength to find help. For this, it has to have an element of the soul, but if it has heart, knock, rose, but not winter, it'll help us. So in this case here, we couldn't use the health, but we could use this shaft. Oh, I didn't actually talk about the shaft. So eloquence and understanding, the door opens both ways. One of the 9 parts of the human soul. Oh, this is interesting. So we've got forge. Fire, I once read, is the winter that warms and the spring that consumes. The principle of the forge transforms and destroys. It's got 2 knock aspect. The principle called knock permits no seal and no isolation. It thrusts us gleefully out of the safety of ignorance. Knock opens doors and unseams barriers. And occupant, a visitor or soul element with this aspect, can be placed in a guest bed to occupy it for a while. Okay, and that's true for Faust as well. I also didn't talk about the aspects for Faust, so that is 2 lantern. Life a pure flame, and we live by an invisible sun within us. Thomas Brown. Lantern is the principle of the secret place, sometimes called the House of the Sun, and of the light above it. And of course, my beloved sky. So, we will employ Shapt because it has got knock aspect. Perhaps there's someone out there even in this weather. I can fill my lungs and bellow for help. That would also mean that I don't need to crawl any further. At last I see the light of a hurricane lamp bobbing in the dark. As it approaches, a face glimmers above the lamp. Fisherman's assistance. A fisherman from Bran Krug village. He can guide me up the cliff path, if he trusts me. The fisherman has moon aspect, sky aspect, but they are skeptical. Trust can be bought or earned. Assistance, and reluctant. Someone who will provide help, but only essential help. So we can already see how we're going to wind up to Bran Krug village, but remember, it can't have the skeptical aspect. So let's try talking with the fisherman again. Come no closer. What's thy business? A name. Is there someone who might vouch for me with the villagers? Allaying suspicion. Be someone that'll speak for ye? Of course, since 1930 and the Restoration, the locals have grown ever more suspicious of foreigners, but there is someone in Bran Krug that I know. Now, this is perhaps worth noting. So it says 1930 and the Restoration. So if we're trying to establish a sequence of events, we've got a fire from 7 years ago. It's 1936, which means that the fire was 1 year before the Restoration. And so, of course, there is the interesting question is, did something happen at Hush House to create a sequence of events that led to the Restoration, or, you know, is a year too long to wait? Again, I don't know, but these are the things that I like to just make some notes on as I go by, because I'm not going to be doing the opening as often as during the beta. I'll take ye by the cliffs then. This gentleman is no longer skeptical. And here it is, Bran Krug village. Bran Krug village, this quiet Cornish fishing village, has lain long in the Isle's shadow. It might be as old as Hush House itself, and like Hush House, Bran Krug village has provided sanctuary over the years for its share of misfits and exiles. By the way, I do want to take a minute here and just point out the art style here. We do not have Hush House itself yet, but this is, you know, I definitely have enjoyed Cultist Simulator's art style. Oh, that's interesting. The moor has moved yet again. Oh, that's helpful too. We'll talk about the moor later. We need to get out of the rain, but they've really outdone themselves in terms of the art style here. I really do like this work. So, anyways, this quiet Cornish fishing village has lain long in the Isle's shadow. It might be as old as Hush House itself, and like Hush House, Bran Krug village has provided sanctuary over the years to its share of misfits and exiles. So remembering that we are looking for the rector, we've got the old rectory here. There are a number of different buildings that we can go to, but right now we need to get out of the rain. So, Reverend Timothy is a hospitable soul, but Terence, his housekeeper, guards her employer fiercely. She doesn't want his innocent theological enthusiasms getting him in trouble with the new king's men. You need an introduction or a mutual acquaintance marked with lantern, knock, or sky, perhaps someone who shares his interest in theology or poetry. So 1 second here. All right. Clergyman distrait. The door opens a few cautious inches. Who's there? I say, who's there? The storm wind plucks at you, plucks at the door, shakes the trees around the house. Shelter! So it needs to have both an element of the soul and soaked. The Reverend staggers back as if he'd received a blow, and then he's bombarding me with terrified, delighted questions before I am even through the door. Take shelter at the rectory. Reverend Timothy flutters fussily while Terence the housekeeper busies herself with practicalities. She shows me to a warm room at the top of the house where a fire is already made up. Reverend Timothy is touchingly excited to meet his correspondent in person. I'm still too exhausted to hold up my end of the conversation, and Terence is not a talkative woman, but the Reverend can talk for 3. At last, however, he suddenly realizes how exhausted I am, and lets me sleep. Memory foresight, Wit's Forge and Fire Blast, Meanings Press and Screw, Coleridge on Dunn's poetry. So this has Forge. I don't know if I actually read the Forge description for Shapt, but I'll read that here. Fire, I once read, is the winter that warms and the spring that consumes. The principle of the forge transforms and destroys. It has 1 lantern aspect, and it is a memory. All right, so we've got our health restored. We had to give up our Shapt in order to get the fisherman to help us. So we have a few options available to us. I could go to the rectory. Reverend Timothy's words always run ahead of him, but his thoughts always catch up. And we've got the Mistcloak Bridge. So as I did mention before, if we wanted to go along the tidal flats, we have this option now, provided we can find Moon and Winter. Alternatively, we can try the Mistcloaked Bridge. Every so often, someone builds a bridge to the Isle. Each bridge lasts 100 years, or 200, and then the sea disposes of it. This was built in the 1890s, and that makes it the newest bridge, but that doesn't mean it's new. Sorry, I'm still putting a few notes down whenever I see something interesting. So, if I would like to go across the Mist-Cloaked Bridge, we can do so by taking assistance with Forge, Lantern, or Sky. I don't remember what it takes to get to the next area, though. So the other thing that I would consider would be, is there a benefit to me there's a couple of options that I have. I can talk with Reverend Timothy and work out my journal. Alternatively, if I work out my journal, I can go to the post office. Now again, I'm saying this because I've played this before. The other alternative is that we go straight to the Mist-Cloaked Bridge. And there's a couple of options one way or the other here. I don't think I'm going to be able to get that much mileage in terms of... actually, hang on. So if I get the notebook, then I can hire... a miner a couple of times. Okay. Against my better judgment, I am going to dry out the book. Reverend Timothy's door is always open to me. Timothy will offer help for free as a friend. So we're going to talk about the book. Dry out a book. Reverend Timothy is not a man to miss an opportunity for conversation, so the whole business takes longer than it might, but he's anxious to help. All right, a stone-studded book, dull gleaming yellowish stones. Amber? I feel that I should know. So this has the principle of knock. The principle called knock permits no seal and no isolation. It thrusts us gleefully out of the safety of ignorance. Knock opens doors and unseen barriers. It's got a mystery lantern. Greater challenges require stronger skills. It is a thing. It is uncatalogued. There is nothing as safe as ignorance or as dangerous. Nero Wolfe. It's readable. There are worse things to put in your eyes than this. And a journal. I began before this book, but it'll end when I do. Now, I believe I can't use my health to catalog something, so in this case it will say, so soul, some books are to be tasted, others to be swallowed, and some few to be chewed and digested. Bacon. Studying requires effort. You'll always need a suitable soul card first. So in this case it will accept any element of the soul, but it can't have nectar, scale, fatigued, or malady. And in this case, health basically hits all of these. But that doesn't mean we're stuck for the day, so we're going to go to the post office now. The postmistress may have something for me once I know what to ask for. Post office counter, a place of power, a place of knowledge beneath the sheltering hand of His Majesty the King. Something for me? The postmistress regards me with the chilly gaze of a goddess image in an ancient hill shrine. The librarian, says she. Yes, I have something for you. Wait here, please. The postmistress returns with an envelope addressed to the librarian, Hush House, Krug Isle, postmarked in Wales a week ago. A letter to the librarian, a letter from St. Ronwin's Trust. The Trust's connection with Hush House is probably benevolent but persistently obscure. This has got readable, and it is also correspondence. I can reply to this from a writing desk. In addition, we've got a 10-shilling note, half a pound, but not half a note. A recent innovation. It is worth 120 pence. The eccentric currency of a fallen empire. 1 penny is 4 farthings, 12 pence is 1 shilling, and so on. Okay, so we've got the post office. The postmistress keeps the gate to the wider world. In her left hand is the lightning, which is to say the telegraph, and in her right the thunder, which is to say the only telephone in Krug. Before her lies the cash register, which accepteth the greater currency and returneth its lesser children. So if we wanted, we could give the 10-shilling note to get change. So break a 10-shilling note. The postmistress will accept the offering and bestow upon you the appropriate change. We don't need that right now. Now, what about the other places in Krug? We've got the smithy. Locked. Denzil Smith has more work than he needs, and he rarely opens his door to strangers. You need an introduction or a mutual acquaintance marked with Edge, Forge, or Heart, someone in a similar trade, or someone who can appeal to his secret passion for saffron cake. We also have Mr. and Mrs. Kill locked. Mrs. Kill, the midwife, is tall and gloomy. Mr. Kill, the undertaker, is slight and wry. In these troubled times, both are wary of strangers. You need a suitably marked introduction. Check the slot. So in this case, because it's 2 people, there are a number of different aspects. In this case, it would be Grail, Heart, Lantern, Moon, Sky, and or Winter. Finally, we have the Sweet Bones. After the restoration of 1930, the new king's agents came looking for his enemies in these parts, and they weren't gentle about it. Since those days, the locals are suspicious of foreigners. No one in the Sweet Bones will talk to me. So remember, there was that idle thought of saying, it's like, okay, so there a year before the restoration, we've got. So the year before the restoration, we've got the fire in Hush House. Now that may not mean anything, right? You know, there's basically 3 states an event is going to be. It's going to be before, after, or, you know, at the same time. So, you know, doesn't necessarily mean that these things caused each other. So one of the arguments potentially against the idea of Hush House being involved with the restoration, at least, you know, as a cause, would be why would they be searching for enemies here? But again, that's not the strongest argument, but these are the sorts of things that you kind of run around in the back of your head. So we have a few options in terms of trying to bring people over to our side. So we've got a sea of hostile faces, diplomacy, or bribery. It will accept assistance, pence, metal, core, or shaft. Now notice that our Faust and our shaft are exhausted, so we can't use it here. But we can use our 10-shilling note. A wary welcome at the inn. In the time of the Heptarchy, a ring giver was accounted generous. In this bright and civilized century, a beer buyer enjoys the same regard. I bought a round for everyone, and another, and one more for luck, and thus I was accounted not so bad for a foreigner. I'll find a warmer welcome the next time that I'm here. Alright, and we have our change. 6pence, the silver coin of least value, but silver nonetheless. A shilling, 12 pence, if you prefer, or if you prefer, 1/20th of a pound. A half crown, 2.5 shillings, obviously. And a crown, 5 shillings, 1/4 of a pound. And finally we have a memory solace, peace after trouble. 2 heart and 1 sky, so kind of like a little bit like a storm. On we go. Alright, so I have some options for me. Again, remembering our goal right now is the Mistcloak Bridge, which would require Forge, Lantern, or Sky. So what can we do at the Sweet Bones? The Sweet Bones has been the public house in Bran Krug since Cromwell's time. Its history is notable, its beer is not. Guests looking for discreet employment or for discreet assistance congregate in the snug. So I need to use either me, so in this case I could use my health. And actually, we can talk about it here. Just because you put something in a slot doesn't mean that you have to use it, right? So, manual labor, heart, there's not much work on offer in Bran Krug, but I can find 6pence worth of odd jobs. Or alternatively, I can put mine, which would require... Oh, that's interesting. I think in the future I'm going to have to see what I can do with the... But then again, how would I get the... So I'm just trying to think about the Sweet Bones. Yeah. So I suppose what I could have done was I could have used Reverend Timothy to go to the Sweet Bones. Maybe I would have been able to dry out my journal that way. Anyways, in this case, so either soaked or pence. And in this case here, we can, if I put a 6pence, that won't be enough. 1 shilling or 12 pence will hire a casual laborer's services. So we'll add a shilling. In spring, the local miners often travel to the Feast of Lights below. If one breaks his journey at the Sweet Bones, a shilling will buy his labor for a day. Miners offer scale, forge, and a little moon. Sorry, just give me 1 second here. Something kooky happened. Not in the game, but on my computer. Okay, we're good. Miners' assistants. Thus they more or less ruled themselves, with help of their wild Celtic temperament, made wilder by the hardness of their lives and the truly ghastly conditions under which they worked. And with all this, it is not to be wondered that the tinners acquired the reputation of being scarcely human. But it must be remembered that among them at all times were those whose characters could stand comparison with the best of men. El Rusted Muirhead. I actually tried to look this up. I couldn't find the source for this, but life's not over. I'll look harder next time. So Forge, Moon, and Scale, we've covered all of these before. Assistance, and it's also an introduction. But in this case here, we've hired a miner to help, and they will help us with the Mistcloak Bridge because they've got the Forge aspect. So every so often someone builds a bridge to the Isle. Every bridge lasts 100 years or 200, and then the sea disposes of it. This was built in the 1890s, but that makes it the newest bridge, but that doesn't mean it's new. So what we're going to do here, one option I do have would be I could go back to the Sweet Bones and hire someone again. We do have the passage of time, so currently it's spring, we're in morning. Well, we're not in morning, but it is morning. The third hour, when the office of Terse once was sung. Watch as the day opens like a door. So unlike me, we're actually getting something done in the morning. Lodge at the gate, a cottage where Hush House's groundskeeper lived until the fire. If I can get into the place and make it habitable, I can use it as a base for reclaiming more of the house. So this one's a little bit different. This requires 2 forge, 1 heart, or knock. So a local blacksmith can defeat the door, the rector probably has a spare key, and the midwife knows how to jiggle the latch on the back door. So if I recall correctly, I didn't check too carefully, but the miner has 2 scale, 1 forge, and 1 moon. Now, there is one thing I just want to double check here. So if I can consider, yes, I would need to catalog this before I can study it. So cataloging isn't an option. So notice here that foresight is worth 2 forge, and we're going to use that to my advantage when it comes time to unlock this, this area. So we're going to hire another miner. In the spring, the local miners often travel to the Feast of Lights below. If one breaks his journey at the Sweet Bones, a shilling will buy his labor for the day. One nice thing is you'll notice that the game automatically combines the currency for you. So florin, a shilling per side, 24 pence, and we have another miner. So if we were to try and use the miner here, note we don't have enough forge, but we can talk with our companion. Speak to an assistant. I could encourage my assistant, work with them for a little while, exalt them. Or I could just listen to whatever they have to say. Add something to enhance your assistant's effectiveness for the day, or just talk. So if we take memory foresight, exalt with a memory, I can discuss a memory with my assistant. This will use up the memory, but boost the assistant's abilities for the rest of the day. So 30 seconds, and we are on our way to the lodgings. Okay. Memories don't last long outside of books, but it's made the difference for the day. So, return to the bridge, go to the entrance. Oh, neat! So, notice here that the miner now has 3 forge aspect, and that's because we used the memory to exalt. So, it'll give you a few options here. If you look at collaborate, so you can give an element of the soul, a memory, a tool, a beverage, or sustenance. You can only use it once. So in this case, we couldn't give memory solace, for instance. Exalt too many memories, you can only use 1 memory to exalt an assistant once per day. If I wanted, I could use my health, which would improve heart scale and nectar. But again, the question would be, what exactly am I trying to accomplish using that? You will see that it consumes the item. The exception to that would be tools. But what we were trying to do here was work on the lock. So we've got a minute before we can unlock the premises. I suspect this is to stop me from being able to take advantage of all of these other things. So if I want to make a little bit of money, I can go to the Sweet Bones and use my health. I'm not going to do that, at least not yet. What I want to see is, ideally if I can use all of my health and then my memories to be able to get in as far as I can in the day. One of the things that I notice, for me at least, in terms of Book of Hours, it's not necessarily an if you're focusing on this game for optimization, you're maybe missing out on the real fun. So the little hour called nons, when the doors of the mantis are most tightly closed. For the secular, the hours when we anticipate tea or celebrate it. All right. But one of the small challenges I try to make for myself is like, what is a way that I can use all of my different abilities all at once? What's the most efficient use of the day? So when I have something like memories, can I use those by the end of the day to get what I need? So anyways, we've got a number of things in here. So let's take a look at the new room to begin with. The Keeper's Lodge. For 500 years, in the times we call baronial, curia nocturnal, there was always a keeper to watch the ways, weed the gardens, mend the roof when the sun was shining. There is no keeper now, but the lodge's roof still weathers the storms of Bran Krug Bay. So in this case, we've got quite a bit in the room here. I'm not maybe going to read every single item, because one thing that I do notice is that when there's some downtime, that's a great chance to maybe do a little bit of exploration. But we've got dandelion wine, homemade flower wine. We've got a basket of clean laundry, a morning luxury. We have the Hush House key, heavy enough that it takes both hands to turn, heavy enough to brain someone, though you'd need both hands for that too. That's got 3 knock and 3 winter. It's also a key. That part of the soul called shaft is left outside. That part of the soul called shaft is left outside it, the white door of the mantis, as a key in the door, or as a sword outside the king's hall if you listen to the noble endeavor. Sorry, I just want to double check something there. Okay. We've got pillis oat bread, gritty bread made with the hardy ancient oats that grow at Land's End. Forge, heart, nectar, rose, thing and sustenance. A straw cushioned chair, upholstered without any particular skill. We've got shadowless silk, a variant of the Persian silk tree, golden as the shadowless kings. We've got honeyscar scented candle, a candle scented with honeyscar jasmine. And we've got a number of books here. So we have Traveling at Night Volume 1, which is a 4-knock mystery. The annotated dream journals of Christopher Alopoli, sometimes called the only readable occultist. Literate, entertaining, bewildering. We've got Traveling at Night Volume 2, which is a 6-sky mystery. The annotated dream journals of Christopher Alopoli again. And we've got 3 books. A Curia book, a Nocturnal book, and a Baronial book. Finally, if you take a look, we've got the baronial period. In the 16th century, the de Wolf family became the Barons Bran Krug, governing the Isle as their personal estate until 1759, when their line ended in madness and death. So, just one second. Okay. Oh, and I didn't mention the fractured mirror, cracked and fly specked. So, what do we need to get into Hush House? The Great Gate of Hush House. Sorry, the Great Gate of the House. The walls of the house tower above me. I had been told that it was, abandoned after a fire, but there is no sign of any such thing. The building will no doubt need restoration, but it's in better shape than I'd feared. Books are the memory that does not die, reads the inscription above the gate. So key, most rooms in the house will need renovation. This just needs to be opened. So in this case, essential 3-knock, but required 2-knock. So make of that what you will. And that's going to take a minute. Now, we're almost at the end of the day. One of the things that I could do with the bed, guest bed lodge, stout, rustic, snug. Use a matching soul card to move your belongings in and make this your bed, or place a matching visitor card to encourage them to stay a little longer. So in this case, occupant, add a matching soul card to sleep here, or add a visitor to offer them a bed for the night. It has to have occupant. which in these cases it doesn't. Heart or interested in heart, and will not accept fatigued, malady, or question mark. This is something or someone from Numa, the time when seems and is cross swords with history and eternity. So we are going to camp. I'll make this my lodgings for the time being. Move your belongings into this room, and you can then use this bed to rest soul cards and recover maladies. So that's 90 seconds that's gonna take things up. So I suspect we're not going to be able to do much with the memories here, but I still think that's a good use of the day. We kind of got through everything that we needed. Clearly, we don't have what it takes to be able to read Traveling at Night. We don't have the 4 knock. And we definitely don't have 6 sky, but we can work on that in the future. Dusk, night from day, silver from gold, the vesper hour when the priests would honor the rising of the evening star, Meniscate. I also forgot to mention the tea. We've got Cater and Harrow, second flush Assam, a packet of it. All right. The Watchman's Tower Gatehouse. Back in the 11th century, Brian of Brittany built the tower and its gates to protect St. Brendan's Abbey, as Hush House was then known. Later, the Barons de Wolf strengthened the gate against their many enemies, but it's a long time now since Hush House was any kind of fortress, and by the time the scholars of the Curia took possession, this place had long been a comfortable waiting room for visitors to the house too minor to merit immediate attention. All right, now we've got a number of different items inside here, but what we're really interested in right now is what are we setting ourselves up for? How are you doing, Tikri? I think you know what the good email I got was. So we can go to the gatehouse stairs. The stairs to the room above are plastered with debris, and the plaster is peeling from the walls. I'll need help from the village to clear and restore this place. So in this case, we can use the forge or lantern. You must always remember the tea, else you are truly embodying the British. Actually, I'm drinking coffee this time, but it was in hopes that I would appeal to. It was a hope that I would be appealing to Olaf. Anyways, so. We have a few options in terms of where we're going. This is, by the way, I know we're about an hour in, even accounting for my long introductions and such, but we're now sort of on to what you would sort of consider to be the main experience of the game. So one thing I wanted to stress here is I talked a little bit before about the Locksmith's Dream, this experience that Tricuspid Limited has put together. And one thing that really struck me about Book of Hours is how close the two experiences really are. So Book of Hours has done this wonderful job of sort of capturing what it feels like to go into an ancient house and just explore and have experiences and see things. But there is actually a real life experience. I alluded to it before. Actually, you know what? I'll just take a quick second here. I know I don't want to turn this into like a complete advertising thing, but for those of you who are interested... Again, and I highlight this because the sort of the partial upfront payment is going to be going away in less than 2 weeks, but this is specifically the thing I'm referring to. But also you get to see this building, incidentally, is referred to inside of Book of Hours, but I'm going to leave it for the sharp-eyed among you to see what's going on there. But the reason why I highlighted it here is you can see there's a lot of rooms, and if it takes about a minute, or even 30 seconds to open up these different rooms, even if we could achieve all of the different objectives, there's a lot of exploration, and it's going to get harder as we move in through the building. So one of the main things that we're sort of just at the threshold of sort of a main experience of the game, which is to restore and rebuild this library. Again, perhaps not coincident. It's not a coincidence that this lines up with what we're doing with our character, which is recovering who we were before. So, what I particularly want to note here is what aspects I need in order to get to different areas. So in this case, we need lantern for both the gatehouse stairs as well as the cloistered garden. And given that information, I can say, okay, well, if I want, I can use Reverend Timothy to unlock that, because Reverend Timothy has lantern and knock. Or alternatively, I can use that lantern and knock to be able to catalog my stone-studded book and try and get more done. And I've got a few different ideas about how I can divide this attention, but what matters to me right now is that I've actually made the effort. Like, it's nice to sort of plan out what the next day is going to be. So again, I could have tried to find some employment at the Sweet Bones, but I don't think it hurts to set up in bed. Dusk, night has fallen, dawn will come soon. So remember, memories go away at the end of the day. This is a safe place for me now, to the extent that dreams are safe. You know, Kree, I know you answered this before, but I can't remember. Now that we are 2 weeks away from release, what... Actually, I guess it's less than 2 weeks now. What background do you want to do first? Or if you don't have a particular background, what combination between the different elements of the soul that you're looking to try first? Daybreak, memories fade, assistance departs, but the soul is refreshed. Alright, now I have some ideas in terms of what I want to do. It's a sunny day, so the sun is not what it was, but today he is smiling. So this has 2 lantern and 2 sky. So this will be relevant because remember, when we, with the books that we actually, I guess I haven't shown you how this works. So if you want to read a book, let's take Traveling at Night Volume 1 as an example. So you can put your soul in. So it's like, okay, well, it's a knock challenge, so we'll add shaft. Knock, a crack in the seal. Perhaps you provided knock, but not enough to match the mystery knock. If you're lucky, you might still succeed. So we can put a skill in. Now, we don't have any skills right now, but we can also employ a memory. So in this case, the lantern and sky won't help too much, but we do have a sky challenge. So with the sunny day, if I were to somehow find 4 sky to work with, we would actually be able to read Traveling at Night Volume 2. The reason why I highlight this is that I'm going to have to make some choices in terms of how I use my different aspects. So for instance, I may want to talk with Reverend Timothy to bring him out to the bring him out to Hush House and be able to unlock one of the rooms. But I also have some different mysteries to work with. So I think I know what I'm going to do here. I just want to double check one more thing about how consider works. Okay, yep, we're good. So I am going to get Reverend Timothy. In this case, I'm going to use Shapt. Reverend Timothy's words always run ahead of him, but his thoughts always catch up. Reverend Timothy's door is always open to me. Timothy will offer help for free as a friend. I don't know a lot of the combos currently, but you do like the idea of Whist. Okay. So I think Whist is one of the... so the back 4 are... I can't remember. It's Fost, Metal, Arab, or is it? Oh man, I actually don't remember. I don't remember what the first three and back three are. All right, well, we'll work that out later. Anyways, no topic for Reverend Timothy this time. Reverend Timothy always jumps at the offer of my company. So the other thing that we're going to do is, so we're going to use Reverend Timothy to try and open up the gatehouse stairs, but I want to be able to work with my book. So we need to catalog it. And in this case, I really only have one option here, and that is to catalog it with my Faust. So a journal. My journal? That amber-studded cover is familiar, but the storm so scattered my thoughts. Reverend Timothy always jumps at the offer of my company. Sorry, I think I said that already. Rector's assistants. Reverend Timothy, rector of Bran Krug, ordained by the Church of the Unconquered Sun. A learned man, blessed in the tally, the gate, and the light. Make use of the rector's help before dawn. So I do have a couple of options available to me. So for instance, one thing I could try to do would be to talk with Reverend Timothy, see maybe if I can get some forge so that I can hire one of the miners again. Alternatively, I could talk with Denzel the Smith, unlock Denzel the Smith, hire him, and we could try and use him to unlock the stairs. Now that strikes me as a net loss to me, so I don't necessarily want to do that there. We're unlikely to get the nectar. The back four interact with people, whist, Arab, font. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was going to be whist. The first three have no witty theme, fet core, and shaft. All right. So I would guess with Kree, I would have guessed core personally, but I think probably you like fet a little bit more. So if whist is your anchor, then I'm guessing you might do fet whist, although you could be a core whist person. In any case, so I'm going to keep in my back pocket the possibility that we can use Forge to unlock the gatehouse stairs. So with that in mind, we're going to have a chat with Reverend Timothy and see what kind of memories we can get. Reverend Timothy is always happy to chat. Add an element of the soul to enhance Reverend Timothy's effectiveness for the day, or to just talk. Now the other option that I have is hiring a miner and using them to unlock the cloistered garden, but we'll see. We still have plenty of the day to go through, so I'm in no rush. Magnate or Symergist? So you know you're a Symergist in the Locksmith's Dream, right? My journal, I'm sure of it. The storm scattered my thoughts, but each page I turn is familiar. I begin to recall now why I came here and the 2 lives I've lived. More about your origin and your aspirations in your journal. So we got Faust back for this, which is good. So the Amberflecked journal. I am the twice-born librarian of Hush House, and this is the journal in which I keep my remaining memories. The twice-born hopes to conceive a history where their third choice is possible, but you can complete the game by recording any history. You might wish to begin your studies with the Illumination Wisdom. So we've got Nox, still a mystery lantern. We've got the twice-born memories. I remember that I once walked the House of the Sun as a bodiless immortal, but there was a matter that could only be resolved if I returned to flesh. Now if I go back to the House of the Sun, I will be hunted and punished. If I stay in flesh, I will be hunted and devoured. I need a third choice. Readable thing and journal. So, now we can go to the Tree of... Whoa! That's not supposed to happen. Uh-oh. This may be a short playthrough. Let's see what's going on. So what's supposed to happen here is you hit the Tree of Wisdoms, and you see this big map of the tree, and I'm going to guess... Yeah, I can't interact with this at all. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm definitely going to give this a bug report. Okay, so the first thing we're going to try here is to hit continue. So first thing we're going to do here is hit. Okay, so it's persisting here. So I'm going to quit out for a second. I'm also going to take the folder that I've got. So I'm just adding these to my bug report in case resetting the game doesn't fix anything. This is when I'm actually going to send the email off like right away if I can't resolve it. Like this is something that needs to be emailed right away. I'm sure it's well past bedtime. Okay, so I'm going to try a couple more things here. So the default resolution that it set me to was this. Oops. Okay, so what if I were to make it windowed? Okay. So I'm just trying to give them video evidence to solve this as well. The worry, of course, is that there are other broadcasters who might try to do this over the weekend. So I want to try and be as precise as I can in terms of what's going wrong. Okay, so we all may not be lost. So I am determined to do as much. I'm determined to do as much Book of Hours as I can, and Weather Factory have actually given me secret knowledge. But I didn't look too carefully at this. So let me just take a quick second here. This would be a perfect time for me to run ads, but no, we will. Warning, you are dabbling with forces behind the veil. Okay. Okay, that didn't work. Sorry, I don't want to... Alright, so unfortunately, I think this is one case where the magic... Oh. Oh, that is cool. Okay. Sorry, I know you can't see this, so I shouldn't be talking about... I don't want to read this too carefully because I'm like, what I'm looking at right now is a... I'm looking at a very... Yeah, sorry. There's something I have access to here that kind of gives me a very significant amount of control over the game. It also lets me see. So, like, you know how I said that it sounded like there's a bunch of stuff going off behind the screen? I can actually see that now, which is interesting in its own right. But unfortunately, it's not the thing I need right now. So, whoa! Okay, this is what I get for pushing the wrong buttons. I can at least show you this. Behold, Hush House. I'm hoping I didn't just unlock a bunch of achievements doing that. Yeah, so I'm not going any further into Hush House than this, because I actually would like there to be some mysteries. I would actually like there to be some mysteries left. So here's the deal. I'm gonna load my old save here before we go on. So, the Tree of Wisdoms is a pretty big deal for this game. And I feel a little bit bad that I've spent so much time building up Book of Hours, only to run into this Tree of Wisdom's difficulty right now. These things happen. I think I did say at the time I was a little surprised at how ambitious the release date was for Book of Hours, because the there's a lot in this game, and I'm utterly amazed at how two people and contractors have been able to put this thing together. But why should I do that, Super Tachi? I'm not going to just stop streaming. But I'd be fascinated to hear the reasoning behind this. But yeah, so I guess what I got to do is, so there is a way that I can play this without engaging with the Tree of Wisdoms, but the drawback here is that the Tree of Wisdoms is where I kind of put in skills. It's where I engage with a lot of the game, and it is the thing that gets me the different elements of the soul. Now, what I can do is I can just add a bunch of elements of the soul for myself, and I can try and figure out a few details in terms of what I might have been able to get from the recipes and so on and so forth. There is a hybrid version of Book of Hours that I can do that will give sort of an approximation of the experience. And the other thing to remember too is that I don't actually commit that much to the Tree of Wisdom, on my own. The thing is that once this gets fixed, I'm probably going to want to go back to this save file so that I can play the game properly. So I suppose the question is, I would much rather leave this to the audience in terms of what you would be interested in seeing. Are you interested in watching kind of an imperfect Book of Hours? Or would it be better to, do a couple more hours of another game for today? Just accept that, these things happen. I'm glad that we were able to detect this before the game went out to its full release. To a certain extent, I would really like to be able to show this game in the best light. But with that in mind, for those of you that are interested in seeing a bit more of Hush House, I'm okay to sort of split off another history in which I use these these special commands to be able to do more. But again, there are other things that I can stream, right? We can do Cyberpunk, we can do Baldur's Gate 3, we can do Age of Wonders 4. I actually one of the reasons I was a bit later today was I was playing Outlast Trials, so I don't mind showing that off. And I leave it to you because I can see it going one of two ways. I can see us having some fun with this split off version of Book of Hours. But I do think to a certain extent it's going to be, like if you're worried about a waste of time, like everything that we do, like up to that save, that is going to be the limit, and then we're going to load back to prior to the save to fix that. I can still keep trying a few other things while we talk about this. And alternatively, if you just, want to hang out with me and we can play, or we can, talk about and experience other games, I'm fine with that too. I wonder if I put it down to acceptable. Is that? But yeah, I could use some feedback in terms of what you'd like to see, because I kind of have, like, personally, I have an idea of what I'd like to do here. But this is definitely a case where I could use a little bit of feedback in terms of what people would like. And preferably more than just what other streamers I should... I'm going to make a guess here, in that this is somebody who is streaming, was making an evaluation as to what stream that they wanted to host, and they just accidentally wrote the raid message inside my chat, but still doesn't make me feel good. Why not raid me? Down for pretty much anything. Is anyone here who feels strongly about really wanting to see more of Book of Hours, even if it's not under ideal circumstances? Actually, I really like the UI at 75%. Yeah, so I'll try and crystallize it as a little bit more of a specific choice. Whoa. Yeah, this is why I don't want to mess around too much with that that special feature, because I get weird colors and potentially strange things happen. Oh, also, I've lost the click on the bridge option. Yeah, so there's definitely a few odd things that are going on right now. So I'll maybe put my cards on the table here. I'm not entirely sure it's worth it for me to keep doing Book of Hours right now. And it's not because I don't enjoy the game, and it's not because there are things that I can't show you. But my view here is that if we're going to say we're going to do the... if I'm going to say we're going to do the first, the full version for myself, I'd like that to be the full deal. And I feel like if I'm going to do a broadcast, particularly one that goes about 3 or 4 hours or whatever, and then we undo all of that and we redo it in the main version, that may not be ideal, especially because we still have the couple of betas from Nocturnal So my view is that we should do another game. But I am also willing for someone to say, I really wanted to see Book of Hours today. You know, and I would prefer it if you toughed it out. And I'm okay with that too. I actually did say earlier on, you know, we have the option of hitting view the Tree of Wisdoms, and I didn't take that. So I could have gotten an indication that this was going wrong earlier, but yeah, I'm gonna take the so just to give you an idea of where I'm at. I'm gonna take the silence here from basically anyone but Kree. I'm taking this as people do not feel strongly about a new yeah. I'm taking this as basically people not feeling strongly about what we do for the rest of tonight. So just to give you all an idea of how quickly you can actually go through the introduction. The alternative, too, is I could do... So there's H.P. Lovecraft. We can read Lovecraft's work on horror. On writing horror. So I'm a little curious to see with the introduction. I want to see if I can recover my journal in the Sweet Bones. While we're waiting, favorite characters. Mr. Kill, Mrs. Kill, Reverend Timothy, Denzel the Smith, the Postmistress. Interesting. Okay, so if you can get into the Sweet Bones, you don't need to use up an element of the soul to be able to... Well, I guess technically you do, because... Yeah, so do you kill two birds with one stone with this or not? No, I think it's actually better to introduce yourself in the Sweet Bones. Because the reasoning that I've got here, right? You pick up Mr. Kill, you unlock the Sweet Bones. You don't use money for that, and you still have the option of hiring the laborers to help out. Oh yeah, I'm also forgetting the characters you can't directly interact with. Like Terrence. So interestingly enough, it seems like I wouldn't be able to, I don't have hindsight out of this though. So the consequence for drawing my book out at the Sweet Bones, I saved myself a little bit of money, but I can't get to the shelter in time here. Theoretically, at least. I need to see what it requires. Heart. That'll do. So as long as you get the memory solace, you'll always be able to make it. So yeah, I think this does result in a case, though, where I'm not able to claim my bet in time for it to be recovered. Yeah, that takes quite a bit of time, actually. So the way I do it is, the way I did it with Timothy was faster, although in the grand scheme of things, I'm still able to get to the front room. Cool. All right. So it doesn't feel like there was a strong feeling for continuing on. So again, I really appreciate Weather Factory giving me early access to Book of Hours. Unfortunately, it seems like the Tree of Wisdoms is closed off to me, and like I said, it's not a deal breaker. There are some things that I can do to make it like work. But because this is going to be a save that we stay persistent with, I think I'm just going to end the broadcast here, the Book of Hours broadcast. I do want to try and do a little bit more of some streaming, though. So what I'm going to do, I was thinking maybe Soma might be a good idea, but I kind of only have an hour, so I think I'm going to try Outlast Trials, which is definitely going to be a change of tone. So yeah, I am going to shut down the stream for a little bit. I hope you still keep around, because I would like to still share a bit of the experience with you. But I am going to, I do want to just sort of snip the video off at this point. I do apologize for 2 hours of really just doing the most preliminary work. But hey, you know, this is why we send bug reports. So I will see you all in a little bit. Just credit where credit is due. Weather Factory, Design, Writing, and Coding by Alexis Kennedy. Art Production and Marketing, Lottie Bevan. We salute our collaborators, Additional Coding, Roman Los Kutov, Knights of Unity, FRGM, additional art by Adrian Degan, Clockwork Cuckoo, Catherine Unger, music by Maribeth Solomon and Mickey Mar Productions, SFX by Sound Cuts. Great thanks to all of the Steam page localization. I am not going to try and pronounce that, but it does not mean that I respect it any less. And of course, special thanks again. I am most curious about Fingal's Coffee on Trafalgar Road. Clearly, the beta testers are a distinguished and knowledgeable lot who we owe our deepest thanks to. Johnny Koshlin, Mark Lewis, Alex Tuddy, Anna Poulter-Jones, PK and Sonia. This is always a very nice credit to see. Matt and Taz, and Sulochana and Chi. So I will be back in just a couple minutes while I tag up my stream for something a little bit more appropriate, and we'll get at least an hour or two of more broadcasting in. I will see you all in a little bit.